We will call our meeting to order. We have a full house tonight, so welcome everyone. We'll start with our citizen award. And before we do that, we have a shared vision in the Fern Ridge School District, provide excellence for every student so that each will reach their greatest potential. Thank you to the members of the public who have joined us. As a reminder, school board meetings and work sessions are meetings of the board held in public, providing an opportunity to observe the board's discussion and actions. In an effort to conduct official board business, we ask that the audience be respectful and refrain from questions, comments and unnecessary noise while the board conducts the meeting. There is an opportunity for citizen comment tonight, and the board looks forward to hearing from those who signed up. I will share some reminders when we get to that portion. Also note that the board meetings are live streamed, so you have the opportunity to view that on our website. Okay, and we will start with our citizenship. Billy.
Hi.
Hi.
This is an exciting one for me because I've had the pleasure of not only being Mason's principal, but his first grade teacher. So Mason, will you stand for us? This is Mr. Mason Bliss. He is a true gem, not only to our school, but to the world. I have two different things to read. So for Mrs. Baroza, who was his third grade teacher, Mason Bliss shows integrity in his interactions with both peers and adults. Mason also perseveres when things are difficult and always with a positive attitude and a smile on his face. He is kind, respectful, helpful, and a wonderful leader. Mrs. Anderson, who is his current fourth grade teacher, wrote, Mason was chosen for the Citizenship Award because he is the most outstanding citizen that I have ever seen, which is a very big statement from her because she really has very high expectations. So that's pretty cool. Mason puts others above himself. He takes care of academics with intrinsic motivation. He strives to be his best every day. I'm so proud to say that I've seen Mason grow over the past few years. He's a great role model for our community and our district. And what's pretty amazing about Mason is when I asked the staff who they thought we should nominate, someone threw out his name, and then I had 15 emails right after that was like, yes. And that I've never seen that happen, even as a teacher. It was just instant. And like I said, I was his first grade teacher, and now I get to watch him grow into a young man. He's an Eagle leader at our school, which is a school job, and he helps lead the school. And he's just a really great human. So I'm really proud to represent him today, or to present this award to him today. Nice job, Mason. Here you go, buddy. Oh, sorry. Okay, you want to lead us in the pledge, buddy? Okay. Right there, perfect. Okay.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ben. Nice job. Good job.
Righty. And you guys are welcome to stay, but you're not required. So if you wish to leave, you can do so.
Get out while you can. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good job, Mason. Nice job, Mason. Nice job.
Okay, well, we will move into our monthly items. There are no public comments at this time. We'll take approval of the minutes, work session and regular session, which requires our board approval.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as stated.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that for the work session.
Okay. Do we get a second and then discuss?
We can just do one at a time, so any discussion on a work session and then vote on that one.
So just vote on the minutes then,
Okay.
all right? Do we have a second for the minutes, the board minutes?
I'm sorry, for the work session or for the regular
The
meeting?
regular meeting, and then we can do the.
I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion on the board? Is it the board that you have a question on, or the work session? I'm a little confused.
On the regular meeting.
On the
The
regular.
regular minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Okay, on item number 7B, let's talk about Burbridge Educational Association. I would just like to note in there that the speaker last month, he showed slides and told us about what's happening in the schools and stuff like that, but then also talked about school strikes and other things like that, and I just really appreciated that. So could you note that in there, please? Thank you.
on your mind, Andrew?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yep. I can do this. So,
Mr. Cooper?
yes,
Okay,
so Horace Cooper did the FRIA
Okay,
right, last month. And when he came, he showed slides and presentation, right? But he also talked about different things that are happening with FRIA. And one of the things that he really talked about was schools and strikes.
He gave an update on like conflicts going on around the state. He's kind of a mucky muck in OEA.
right, okay. I thought that you were talking about our schools and I couldn't figure out what about the strikes, so.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's what I.
okay. Can we
Okay.
get a vote now? Yeah, we're
Yes.
good, all right. All in favor of the approval of the minutes, and is this just the minutes or the work session and the regular minutes? We did the minutes, right? We just did the regular minutes. Okay, so let's approve the regular minutes. All in favor of that?
I,
Aye,
Aye.
you have 5?
Real like that.
Okay. All right, and so we'll need an approval for the work session. Separate. Do we have a motion for that?
I make a motion, we approve the work session.
And a second, and we have a second, any discussions regarding that? All right, all in favor of the approval for the work session?
I,
Aye.
All right, we got 5 on that, thank you. All right, so we will move on to the enrollment report from our business manager. Juana?
Yep, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Perfect. I'll wait for Bree to pull it up. All right, so as of January 1st, we were sitting at 1,295 students, which is 11 over from our budgeted numbers and 1 more than we had last month. We are level at the elementary grades compared to what we budgeted. At the middle school level, we are up by 28, and at the high school level, we are down by 17. And then we also have 7 more out of district placements than we projected in the budget. So not a lot of change from last month overall. Does the board have any questions on the enrollment report?
No, but thank you.
Yeah. And I've got my financial report. All right, so this is the general fund revenue and expense report as of December 31st. We've received 68% of our budgeted revenue. We were at 74% last year. But like I've said, we received a large timber revenue payment last year, so that's probably the difference there. We've received most of our property taxes. As you can see, we have approximately $300,000 left to receive for the remainder of the year. We have spent 36% of our operating expenditures, and last year we were at 35% at this same time. And does the board have any questions on the revenue and expense report?
No, but thank you again.
Yes.
Okay. I believe we need an approval on the expenditure report.
Yes.
Were you covering the resolution or is that?
I do have another item to discuss, that has a resolution that needs action taken on after this.
Okay, all right. We'll entertain an vote on the expenditure.
I move that we accept the general fund revenue and expenditures as written.
I will second.
Any discussions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mark?
Aye.
Okay, you have 5 approved. All right, we're on to resolution 24-2503.
Okay.
Audit report.
Yeah, so hopefully you all received my email regarding the audit report. The audit had an unmodified opinion with no issues of non-compliance or question costs, and no separate management letter was issued. So all checked out fine. This resolution requires board action to accept that audit report, as well as to make designations of the 23-24 ending fund balances to be recorded in this current year, 24-25. So that's the purpose of this resolution.
Any questions before we move forward? All right, we'll entertain a vote for the resolution 24-25/03, which is our audit approval, our report.
I move that we accept the resolution 24/25-03.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Mark? Frozen.
Aye.
Aye.
You guys are frozen.
Probably just do the thumbs up or something, we can see that.
It's terrible to zoom in.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Okay.
Yes.
5-0. And are you covering the fidelity also?
Yeah, I have one other item.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so one item that is always noted in our audit reports, it has been forever, is the amount of our fidelity insurance coverage. And if you don't know what that is, it's the insurance that protects an organization from financial losses caused by fraudulent activities. Our current coverage is $500,000. And because our cash balance exceeds $500,000, they always recommend increasing it, although it's not required. And the $500,000 coverage is what automatically comes with our policy. So I went out to our brokers and I had them get a couple estimates on the cost to increase that coverage. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. Again, it's optional. So, and I also think it would not take place until July 1st, so the next fiscal year. So we don't technically need to decide tonight, if you want to think about it. But the cost to increase from 500,000 to 750,000 is $3,570. And increasing it from 500,000 to $1 million would cost $4,546. It's been a few years since I, provided quotes to you guys. I know the last time I did, we decided to not increase it just due to the cost, and even the $1 million doesn't necessarily cover us, to be honest. So, but that's all I have. We don't need action on it. I just, wanted to point that out because it is always an ongoing item in our audits.
Lessons for,
I do have a question, please. Would you please tell me what we're paying now?
Well, we don't really pay a separate premium for it. It's part of our PACE package. And like every district has a $500,000 fidelity coverage. And then if you want extra, that's where the extra cost comes in. They probably could break it out for me, but like I said, it's part of our, package.
What I'll be looking at is, if we're looking at, 500,000 and 750 is 3570.
Yeah.
And then even more to 1 million is 4546. I'd just like to know what is the number currently.
Yeah, and I could ask our brokers, like I said, it's not broken out for me on our policy. Cause we pay a set amount every year for everything, it's our cyber coverage, our fraudulent crime. It's kind of like your homeowner's insurance, it has all this stuff kind of wrapped up into one premium. So I honestly don't know what the cost is currently. I just know that would be the increase in our cost to bump it up.
So would the increase equal the 3570, or would it be what we're paying now plus 3570?
Correct.
Which
That
one?
is in addition to what we're paying right now.
Okay, and if you can get that, I would like to be able to see. What
Yeah,
the-
I can do that. Yeah, and I
Okay,
can bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah, me also, thank you.
And I don't know if Juana would be the person or you, Superintendent Carpenter. I would like a recommendation on whether we should increase it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
thanks, Juana.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our reports. Sydney.
Mark, right now Michelle is handing out a handout that I just sent you by email, so I don't know if you can look it out and watch the show, but wanted to let you know that it's there. All right. I believe today you're gonna get a rundown of the bond, so, can you go back one? That's fine. And when Superintendent Carpenter talks about changing our parking lot, he's talking about this spot right here with the tree and the rock with this sunset and this, where I usually get a sunset or sunrise in the morning, which is my favorite part of getting to work early. So I was just trying to give you a picture of where we're talking about putting some pavement. In the summer, there's no water to irrigate that, and it is usually an eyesore, but in the winter, it looks pretty good. So that spot right there will be parking lot, and we welcome that extra room to move our buses around. And so I was just trying to give you a little visualization of something that would be updated in the bond. All right, next slide, Bree. Okay, so to start with, you just heard that we have around 374 students. I don't know when Juana pulled her number or where we pulled our number, but it's similar. But what I wanted to talk about today is that we have an enrollment in CTE that almost matches what we have in our AP and our College Now classes. So CTE, and on the next slide, we'll describe, don't do it yet. We'll describe what CTE coursework we have, but we have courses that our teachers teach that are both advanced placement and College Now. So College Now students get actual college credit if they pass the class that they're in with our teachers, and advanced placement is when they take a test. And that test proves if they learn, well, it's supposed to prove that they learned the material. So you'll notice that we have 144 seats taken and 159 in CTE. These could be the same kids, like JT could be in a CTE course and an AP course or one or two. Isn't that true, JT? You might.
Last semester.
Last semester he was. So these are not mutually exclusive. If Forrest Cooper was here, he would applaud the use of that terminology. But that's how many places in a classroom that we use that for CT is 159 and 144 for the others. So I've outlined up on the wall, this is just to give you an enrollment picture of us. That our biggest class is 10th grade. And we lose some and we gain some depending on where kids are, sometimes just in their life. But options hold 17 seniors for us and 6 juniors. So those sometimes the data from the option kids, which are completely online, does flow into our data, because sometimes a kid who's in options may show up to go to a CTE course or one of the other ones. So it's pretty fluid. We let kids from across the district, if they live in our district, attend things if we have room. So next slide. Now, if you would look at the handout, so Mark, the email that I sent to you is in 4 parts, 4 attachments. And we do homeroom every Wednesday. So they're split up. 9th grade is usually split up into 4 different groups, and they're cohorted. So you're gonna stick with the same group of kids and the same teacher for 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th grade. And that teacher has this paperwork with them. So if you have a student that says they had no idea that they needed 4 classes or 4 semesters of language arts to graduate, either they missed every Wednesday or they didn't do this packet that we have in each one of their homework classes. So you can see that we've got it broken down, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade years. If a kiddo goes 7 classes and passes all of them, 7 classes passes in 10th, 7 classes and passes their junior year, they don't have much left in 12th grade. But up on the wall, we're talking about the kids that are behind. So when I put this together, it was last week and we hadn't done finals yet, so we didn't have anyone behind on credits in 9th grade last week. We do today. 10th grade, we have 15 kids that have 4.5 credits or fewer. So a credit is a full year class. If you can think about both semesters together, that makes 1 credit. And in 12th grade, if you could just jump down, we have 7. So we work really hard with teachers and online coursework to get kids caught up so that they feel like they're right there with us once they get to 12th grade. And this is part of it. So we have teachers in their homerooms keeping up. And then we have a whole group that is working on this. And it's part of a committee that meets on every 3rd Wednesday. Next, please. Okay, so it's really small, but if you are dying to see this stuff, it's all online. You go to the Fern Ridge website, then Elmira High School, and then you can go to parents and down the right hand side. I can send directions if you need to.
Also attached to the agenda.
And it's attached to the agenda. Look at that. Bree is amazing again. So you can see from looking at this that there are 4 credits needed for language arts. That's 4 years. Math has 3, but they all have to be algebra or above. If you will go to economics at the bottom, social studies, we have a new Senate bill that says that we're going to teach a certain amount of social studies that is governed by this Senate bill. Senate Bill 3. So we have US history, you need 1 credit. Civics, you need half a credit. And then down below it says economics, you need half a credit. This is our first term where, sitting behind me, Desiree Wright-Rendon will be teaching a career class that is also required. It is not required out of social studies, but we've got it slotted in there right now. So this is just an updated version of what's required. Fern and JT don't have to do it. It's our freshman and sophomore that have to do it.
For 2027.
2027 graduates. So it's not, yes, it would be our 9th and our 10th graders. So There's also required a plan and profile, which you have in your hot little hands. There's gonna be some career-related learning that they have to do. We have a big, it's on Wednesday before spring break, where we have a bunch of career and, universities and colleges that come to the gym, and you are all invited, because it's an amazing feat that we pull off in our little school, and we, invite pro and, anyone who wants to, homeschool kids can come, and they can meet, both people that are looking for workers right now, or college and universities. So, our career fair is the week right before spring break, and I did put it in our, weekly or monthly, I don't know what you call it, Bree puts it together that she sends out to the admin report. The admin report, that seems like it's well, named, so. Next slide, please. So when you're looking at our CTE courses, we have a number of them that interest our community that hire straight out of high school. Welding is one of them. And if you'll look, we have 50 kids in intro to welding. That's a lot of people working with flame all at the same time, so they must be trained. They have to learn safety, they have to have all the goggles and the right shoes, and we don't have very many injuries, which shouldn't surprise me maybe, but it does. And then at the end, we are working to get our auto to be an official CTE program, but right now our teacher is not certified, so. We have a number of classes. The last two I just listed because we have a lot of interest in it, and we're working to get our current teacher certified.
So are those electives? Or-
Yes,
Okay,
they are electives. So it is my belief that this is what brings kids to school. I want to think, being a former math teacher, that it's math that brings them to school. But I guarantee you that this is what brings them to school. So we want to keep this rich, and we want to keep it what they need. And the numbers tell us that they're interested. Next slide, please, Bree. So this is the official definition, career and technology education. That's what CTE stands for. And it has an academic knowledge and a technical and occupational skill knowledge portion to it. So an example, and if you're ever invited, I would take a half day off from work and go. Michelle and I just went 2 Fridays ago, and it's called the Hope Project. So in the background, I took a lot of pictures, mostly of Michelle and I with our hats on, and our goggles. But in the back is a manufactured home that's been built by students with the help of people that understand their industry. So carpenters, electricians, plumbers. And the kids come for half days, Monday through Thursday. They can go either in the morning or the afternoon, and then they come to whatever school that they attend. So last year, ours went to the Hope Factory in the morning and came to school in the afternoon. Crow, who has Fridays off, those kids come all day on Fridays. So what's beautiful about this is they build these, and they're all to spec, they all pass everything, and then they say it's a project with St. Vincent de Paul, and they welcome board members coming because sometimes they need you to understand where some of the money is going. And the kiddo with the red outfit on, he's the student. The orange outfit is the one that understands how to use all the tools in the carpentry. But before they ever get here, they've had to take safety and tests to understand each one of the pieces that they're using and what they're building, and they get math and language arts credit. So whoever dreamed it up was just a good thinker. St. Vincent de Paul partnered with us because they got some money from, I believe it was ESSER dollars. Is that true, Michelle?
I think it was a federal grant, not strictly assessment.
Okay, so a federal grant, and then they put the money in as seed money, and they just keep, when they sell a manufactured home, it helps them pay for the rest of whatever they need. So it's an amazing project, and right now they're trying to sell them to people in California that need them. They've sold them up to McKenzie and to people in Portland who also had wildfires. So they're trying to not do it for profit, they're trying to do it to help people who need homes. So there's single, the one that you're looking at is a single wide, and then behind it, there was one double. No, they haven't made them yet. We saw the plans for them. So this was amazing. I left with my heart full, and now I just want you all to go look at it whenever they offer it again for the board members, just so that you can see what kids are up to. Okay, next slide. During that meeting, I learned that Washington, of course, different states do their calculations different for students, but they pay around $4,000 per student for CTE. And look what Oregon pays. They pay $370. So we continue to support this through our school, and it's really important. Kids, I do believe, come to school to learn a trade, and they have to do all the rest to graduate. But what our current teacher has done is he's taken our welding class to a competition at Lynn Benton Community College, and then they've also visited or will visit 3 companies near us, and some of our kids leave the program with jobs that could support a family. So it's important for us to continue it, and if we can, figure out ways to build on how we do it. Next slide, please. These are the 4 that we offer. So our CTE programs, you can just take one and then do the rest of your schooling, or you can take all the parts of it and come away with all the learning that you needed for a CTE pathway. So we have 4, and we've talked a lot about the construction, but we have a media that's mostly done by oh my gosh, James Monaghan. Oh, I forgot the name. And then we have construction in that is done by Johnny, and he brand new to us from for this year. David Johnson retired last year, and so it's been a nice little transition with some bumps because you know he didn't have the same certifications that David did. So now we're having to go backwards, and then the other ones are a number of teachers add to the classes, and that's the way we get to the final product. Next slide, please. Okay, now this picture I did not take, but the reason it's important is that when you hear about the bond and Scott Rose comes and talks, we get people in suits in our building, and you can almost guarantee that they're going to be an architect. So for any of the listening people out there, this is a picture of a guy in a suit walking towards us, and we just know that they're there for a meeting when they show up. So we are so excited in our science department and our athletics that our community supported a bond, and I want to say thank you for this group for supporting it. We begin work beginning of April on the track and the turf, and the science will start once the school year starts. And what we've learned is that we dream big, and then we have to fit it into a budget. So I think when Superintendent Carpenter talks, he's listened to a lot of us say everything we want, and then we have to figure out how to pay for it. So what I want to say is, one, thank you during this season of appreciating our school boards for being here. This is a lot of time away from everything you have to do normally. And then thank you for all the work that you do that makes us better, because we're building our schools and we're building our facilities. So that is the end of my presentation. You have any questions, Superintendent Carpenter?
Last year we had 2 kids at Elm Factor. We have 2 again this year.
We had one this year, and his family moved, and so we don't have one right now, but Mr. Goldegger is working to get a replacement. It means you have to change their whole schedule if it doesn't start out that way. Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. Alrighty. So we have Desiree. And she's presenting for the Furniture Education Association.
Yeah, so I'm Desiree Wright Rendon. I am
we go, we're getting there. I am a teacher at Elmira High School. I teach usually US history, but I'm teaching career ed this semester, and then I also teach a section of theater. And the position that I hold in FRIA is I am their grievance and advocacy chair this year, and I am the one presenting our slides this month, so I'm ready when you are. So from Elmira Elementary, their focus skill in January was patience. And so some students were recognized at their school-wide assembly for practicing this skill. I think everybody requires patience at the elementary level. I definitely couldn't do it. That's a good skill to work on. They also had their jump-a-thon, which was a huge success. Students collected pledges, and it sounds like Mrs. Herbert found a lot of parent volunteers, and the PTA gave every student a jump rope. I know that you guys look forward to the jump-a-thon. I remember doing a jump-a-thon when I was in elementary school, and it's a lot of fun, so. They also have some wow walls in their hallways to show exemplary work from each students. And so on the left, you'll see their literacy wow wall, and on the right, their math wow wall. And so students just step up to have some amazing work and then check out each other's good work in the hallways, so recognition. Benita had an opportunity to thank their school board members. This lovely superhero, it's every single one of you, that's adorable. I didn't see it like that big before. Yeah. And so that one was done by Jennifer Gant. And it looks like the kids had some fun making those for you.
It's on the, it's right out in the hallway, so tomorrow, look.
Yeah.
We actually have those costumes for you.
So yes, we'll get the theater department on it, I guess. So yeah, they had fun making those, and then they're also working hard on their STAR assessments, which those are that's your reading and math data, right? And so seeing where kids are and seeing how much they're growing, and the areas that they may need support in, just doing the work of getting those kids moving along. Dawn and Taylor are working on an electronic recycling program that could win Benita a grant up to $500. And then they are also having the 3rd annual part of the community from 6 to 7:30 at Benita. That looks like it's on, is there a date on there? February 13th. And so from what I recall, that has like a bunch of community resources that families can check out. And I think our very own Amy Hand goes there and has a booth set up. So it's a really great resource for our Fern Ridge families. So you should definitely check that out. Middle school. Okay, we're gonna see if we gotta,
If I
yeah.
actually have real permission, oh my gosh.
Oh, we do, okay, I think we can skip like 10, 15 seconds, is what we said. So this is a rock wrap. The 7th graders were learning about rocks. Geology is really fun. And so this is a 7th grader's rap about rocks. I think so.
Oh, the volume is only on here, I guess.
having taught middle school for 2 years, that is an accurate representation of a middle school classroom. And I did recognize some vocabulary from my college geology class, so good job. They're learning about rocks and they're rapping about it. It's amazing. It's really fun when kids do creative projects like that because it really shows that they understand what they have learned. They're also doing catch at Fern Ridge Middle School. That's the like kind of health and wellness program that runs from our elementary schools through our middle schools. And so they're kind of doing a catch students and staff eating healthy kind of campaign. So if they catch somebody with making good food choices and healthy food choices, they snap a picture of them and post them up by the library and can see who's being caught making healthy choices. So that's a little bit fun over there at the middle school. They also have their Valentine's Day fundraiser coming up, provided by leadership, doing like candy grams and stuffies and cards. So those go on sale starting on the 3rd and they go through the 13th. Looks like Art has been working on some perspective drawings and has those up in the hallway. And then another kind of catching students in the act of doing the right thing. They have the Royal Expectation experts up at the library. And just catching students being responsible, being safe, being the stellar students that we know that they are. And at the high school, our new science teacher, Mr. Dosher, I keep hearing bungee jumping activity and I can imagine 9th graders just like bungee jumping. So I'm glad to see nobody's actually on the bungee cord. I was a little worried about that. But they've been doing a lot of fun interactive activities in physics with Mr. Dosher. And so they've been up in the upper gym doing some bungee cord and engineering activities and testing things out. And so seems like a lot of fun. Remember those being fun projects. The high school English students, this was, I think, English 3, but also some of the advanced like AP Lit and stuff, did a 1 word to kind of focus their goals for the year. And so they chose the word, they had to like define the word, have some picture representations, explain how that word was going to guide them into the year. And so we see some awesome ones like expression, dedication, sensibility, being imperfect, resilience, aspiration, growth. I had one that said that their word was waffles, but it was actually a really deep conversation about why that was their choice. So that it represents warmth and coziness. So it was a very good reflective exercise for the high schoolers. And then so part of the reason why I'm presenting this month is I have had the fortunate experience of being able to go to, I haven't been to the OEA Representative Assembly, but I've been to the NEA Representative Assembly. And this is kind of like where the union does a lot of our work. So every spring in Portland, we have the OEARA, which is the Oregon Education Association Representative Assembly. We love acronyms in education. So they meet every spring, and these are delegates that are chosen from our local unions to go to the state level and discuss issues that impact education and educators across our state. This is our like business meeting where our locals get to have a voice in stating what we want to see in our policy and what we want our union to do, come up with some legislative objectives. So what do we want our union to do in Salem, as well as business items, which is how we're going to spend our money. And so part of what our dues go to is different advocacy things or
different initiatives that we have to decide whether we're gonna spend money on or not. And so those are the business items. This is a 2-day long event with nearly 1,000 Oregon educators coming as delegates, representing 41,000 plus educators in our state. And so I think it's cool because I'm nerdy and I'm a social studies teacher, so sitting there and doing like parliamentary procedure and all of that stuff is fun for me. But it's really cool because it's taking our locals to the state, figure out what we want to do. And then that kind of feeds into the NEA-RA, which is a much larger scale. And that happens every summer around 4th of July. It's usually like July 2nd to 6th. And so we get to spend 4th of July celebrating with other educators. And then we're conducting the same business that we're doing at the state level, but at the national level. And so it's 5 days of business. We start out our mornings with like an hour with our state delegation, talking about things. And then we spend from like, say 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. just sitting there voting on stuff, which is so much fun if you're like me, who is like dying to get on jury duty, you know? So it's a lot of business, but it was really cool. I went 2 summers ago, and on 4th of July, we were able to Skype with then President Joe Biden and his wife. And then we also had an award presented to like the head of the NAACP, and he came and spoke to us. And so it's just really cool to be in that big of a space with pro-education and educator people. Fun fact, it's the world's largest democratic deliberative assembly, with approximately 8,000 delegates coming to meet and vote, and we all vote at the same time. And so yays, nays, or using some kind of voting device, which never works because of radio waves and that many people in one room, but we still get a bunch of stuff done. And that represents over the over 3 million educators that we have, that are members of the NEA. And so part of the reason I bring this up is, you might hear it in the news, but the NEA-RA will be hosted in Portland, Oregon for the first time this year. It's usually held in cities like Philadelphia, Orlando, Denver. And so to be able to bring it to Portland is a pretty big deal. Get some representation here on the West Coast. And then I have one more thing. It's not on the slide, but I have it on my paper. I think Forrest might have mentioned this last month, but we have the OEA Lobby Day coming up in February on the 17th. It is in Salem. And this is where OEA kind of meets with our representatives at the state level, as well as I think, do we meet with like national legislators too? I think so. I'm gonna say so. There we are. And so, but it's our opportunity to meet with legislators and tell them what we want and need in education, to help secure resources for improving the quality of education as well as ensuring student success. So some of the things that OEA will be advocating for is to improve the current service levels for the state school fund and community college support fund, as well as fully funding special education, increasing investments in the Oregon Opportunity Grants, and youth behavioral health, and directing a corporate kicker to infrastructure improvements, as well as emphasizing educator diversification, making sure that there are teachers there that represent the students that we're teaching, match the demographics of the students that we're teaching, looking at wages, pay equity, and stable funding for summer programs. So all kinds of exciting things coming up for OEA. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, on to our student representative, JT and Khan.
We have a lot less to talk about this time because we had our winter break and then into finals week, so it was just kind of uneventful
Busy.
for the most part. But like I said, we did have finals on the 22nd, 23rd, which I'm sure you knew, and I've seen more positive comments from students following that than negative, at least of students excited that they're passing their classes or doing well on tests.
We had drama club production. Miss Reitman is the one in charge of that class. A part of Miss Reitman saying that it went very smoothly. A lot of other students also said so. They really liked it. The ticket sales covered the cost of the play plus $300 in profit, which would be used for beautifying the theater installations as well as future productions. And the drama club also plans to have another production in May.
For leadership's final, we did just presentations over like different projects that we want to bring to the school and like different things that leadership should be able to take on with their funding and their planning. So we got to see ideas from like featuring student art on our walls, kind of help beautify the school, or take on the garden area outside in the front of the high school around the sign, or our courtyard, just trying. A lot of the students wanted to beautify the school a bit by painting everything. But some other ideas we saw were expansions to the CTE programs, and bringing in more like community focused events.
Flowers.
Lots of flowers.
Then next up, we have sports. Starting with wrestling, junior Caitlin Lilly won first place in 2 separate tournaments and second in another. And Tristan Bell won second. Tucker Christians won second. Jonah Cooper won first. Saint Clemmer won first. And Brayden Agnes won third, all on Saturday. From basketball, we have Kyler Cowell was awarded Registered World Athlete of the Week. And boys have a best record in the last last 5 seasons. And then for cheerleading, they won a competition on January 4th, as well as many others, but
They placed third in a different competition, but we didn't have the date for that. And then they have their next competition is, I believe, this Saturday. Yes. Sorry. We've started outdoor school signups for juniors and seniors. So students are running around everywhere trying to get teacher recommendations. They were comparing teacher notes today in class in leadership on who had the best words to describe themselves. And then right now interviews are planned for February 11th.
for more sports, wrestling duels are here in Elmira tomorrow beginning at 4. Basketball home next Tuesday against La Pointe. If boys keep up the success, they will have a chance at playoffs. And then 3 of the boys teams in league are ranked on top 15 in the state. So every win is crucial for Elmira right now. The girls have stayed close in all of their games, and if they can beat the next several league teams, they'll be in playoffs as well. And then cheerleaders will go on Roseburg on Saturday as JT said.
And that's all we have.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Okay, well, I'll come up, but this first one, Ms. Johnson and Mr. Metzger are here, so, essentially, you wanna go? Go.
So we're gonna ask the commission, and I brought Mr. Metzger here because he's gonna be the one teaching it. We want to start a drama elective. So just back up a little bit, in our schedule, we have 2 options for kids to take classes that they're interested in. We have a first period exploratory, which is like an activity class, 30 minutes shorter, only 4 times a week. And then we have a full-blown elective class. We've had drama as a fun activity class for the last couple of years, and we've had a lot of interest and would like to do it as a full-blown elective class. So I'll Josh.
Yeah, so hi, thank you for having me. First and foremost, I'm new here, I'm Mr. Metzger. I am the new social studies teacher over the middle school. Which means I'm not the kind of social studies teacher that loves, drop form and decorum. I am the really weird one, which plays right into why you're asking for an opportunity to teach theater at the middle school level. So electives are an important thing, as we've said many times. They're the reason kids show up to school. But at the middle school level, putting them in a shop class is a little scary. So you try to give them other opportunities and things that'll build some foundational skills for life. And right now, we have a great music program where a lot of kids are really involved. We have several other electives, and then we have a group of kids that are like, well, I've taken those. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yet if you ask them if they want to be in a theater class, no. But the thing that they don't understand is that drama is really important as far as a foundational skill, because it teaches not only the ability to do lines and how to, act silly in front of your friends and things like that, but it also teaches things like self-confidence when you're speaking in front of a group of people that you haven't met before, that also, have to employ you. And feeling confident that you can do so, especially when you've been teaching all day and went, okay, sure, I'll talk about this. It teaches you the ability to project, to be louder, to be confident in what you do. It teaches public speaking skills. It reinforces some of those things, and it does it all by masking it with, hey, we're actually having a good time at work. It's also a creative outlet for kids who don't necessarily fall into that music category, where music's a very disciplined art form. I'm not gonna say theater's not, but theater also at the middle school level is not. It's you get rewarded for being the class clown, and to be honest, that's an outlet that some kids need. Perfect example, I was not always this outgoing, this kind of kid. When I was young, especially in middle school, I would have been terrified to have to speak in front of people. At this point in my life, theater is one of the reasons that I ended up in the career that I did. I originally had thoughts of wanting to be a theater teacher. Sorry, don't feel bad, you're not but then I realized, well, I gotta pay the bills somehow, so I became the other type of social studies teacher. So I teach people about people that have been dead for a long time, and the other thing I really enjoy doing is teaching kids the same lessons that I learned and giving them an outlet and a creative opportunity to build some skills that will benefit them along the road. One of the other nice things is it does feed into then a growing theater program as far as the high school. Kids come in with a little more skill. They've done a few more basic things like improvisations, pantomime work, things like that. They go right into a theater class and they get to do stuff that's a lot more complicated, like, like Shakespeare or something like. No, but they've had some of those foundational skills, and so she's getting to do much more advanced stuff with them, which then grows your high school program as well. Any questions?
I love it, so. I don't have any
So
questions.
do I. Thank you.
Yeah, we need.
Love to make a motion to accept this. Theater class at Ridge High School.
We have a motion on the table. Anyone to second?
I'll second it.
Oh, we're racing together.
Great job, well done. I'm glad he presented that. Much.
All in favor?
I
Mark?
Aye.
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 We got you. Many ayes.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. Well done.
All right, Mrs. Marshall.
All right, so the next thing that I am here to talk about, we have our human growth and development coming up for 5th grade. As you guys know, we're in the middle of a health adoption this year. So we have been spending the last 6 months looking over the standards, looking at the curriculum that's out there. We've got some samples. We've gone to some workshops at Laney SD. We went to a health summit at Laney SD. But this is essentially solving our problem for this year. And what we'd like to do is continue with Planned Parenthood. It's what we know, it's what our teachers know. It's having somebody come in so that our teachers aren't being asked to teach it this year. Moving forward next year, the standards will be adjusted. We'll have a K-5 health curriculum. We'll be teaching the updated standards K-5 for the human growth and sexuality. And so that's gonna take a big lift, and our teachers are nervous, as you know, I think any adult would be when they're being asked to teach something that they haven't been trained on. That's not really what they're expecting. But I think the more that we can do to prep and plan for that right now and take the stress off of them this year would be great. after last year, we thought we were gonna be able to kind of move a little bit faster this year. And what I did at the end of last year, after we kind of talked about looking out there, I reached out to 24 different districts, 17 got back to me. 4 Lane County school districts use Planned Parenthood like we do. 7 use Great Body Shop, which is reassuring to me because that's our #1 choice for K-5 curriculum right now. I have a demo copy, but I think to ask the teachers to dive into that this spring would be a lot. But it's nice to know that we have friends and districts out there that are using this curriculum already. One school district is using something called ETR Health Smart. I didn't put the districts in my notes to you guys just because she admittedly said they're not in compliance, and I'm not gonna say what school that is. She says it's old and outdated. A couple districts use teacher created materials. Neither of those districts shared with me what they use. So again, I don't know what they use. One district has a district nurse that goes in and teaches it to the 5th grade classrooms and with their own creative materials. We have 2 districts that use the 3 R's, which is rights, respect, and responsibility. And that is what we use at the middle school and high school. So that would probably be my second choice after Great Body Shop. If next year we get the training on Great Body Shop and their teachers still don't feel like they have everything that they need to do it well, I would encourage them to look at the 3 R's just because that's what we use at the middle school and high school. My general takeaways is that we're not the only district having this conversation right now. Everybody's in health adoption. Hillsborough, I sent a link. I have a friend that's a curriculum director in Hillsborough, and she is in charge of their K-12 comprehensive sex ed. And so she's like, look at this link, and it's just super transparent. Every lesson, every link is online for every grade. I would like something like that for us when we move forward with our new curriculum. So essentially, after all of that, our choices that we kind of brainstormed was Planned Parenthood, what we've had, what we've used, what our teachers are hoping we move forward with. We could potentially use the Great Body Shop. I just got our full samples set today because I want to plan a preview night and an information night for families for our health, but teachers haven't been trained on that. They haven't used it. And I'm not sure how Great Body Shop would act with that. The 3 R's is an open source. It's free. It's what we use at the middle school and high school. But again, it would be asking our teachers to do something very different than what we've done in the past and try to fit in appropriate PD to get them ready for that. I did reach out to Dove Medical, which is here in Lane County in Eugene. And currently they only have lessons for 6th through 12th, and it's called their Stop and Think curriculum. I reached out to them and didn't hear back. So I called, and then the gal called me back, and she said that they did have a director that was working on 5th grade materials, but that employee is no longer working there. So it kind of got paused. She said she would get back to me as soon as they have what their next steps are. One of the things that I wanted the board to know, which is very different than what we've done in the past with Planned Parenthood, having the parent nights, having those lessons very transparent and open. Dove Medical said their curriculum is not public and that they've never done a parent night. So not that they wouldn't, but she just wanted me to know that. And I said, and she also acknowledged that it's not comprehensive. So we probably have to do a combination of things. So it is possible. It would just take a lot more. But I think knowing that we're hopefully coming here in April or May with a recommendation of Great Body Shop, hopefully having a really solid professional development plan, that we would do one more year with Planned Parenthood and let our 5th grade teachers know that. So that kind of takes that off their shoulders for this year. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I address the audience? Olivia, you're shaking your head, right? And I'm guessing it's because it's not the 3 R's, it's second steps.
No, it's not second steps. It's my future, my choice.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
And-
we don't use 3 rights respect.
Yeah, no, we use my future, my choice, which is provided by the state of Oregon. It's a very transparent lessons. All the lessons are linked. We send all information to the families with every single lesson that their kid is gonna get linked and out there.
Okay, thank you. The high school must use the 3 R's.
Okay.
That's okay, thanks.
Thanks.
So,
I blocked it out from teaching it.
Gary, you said that you had communicated with Planned Parenthood and they agreed to use a previous version of
They first
slides.
they first sent us, well, they reached out, hey, are we doing this again? They sent us all their stuff. And remember last year we had the conversation, well, the new stuff would be a change for us. Could we stick with your old stuff? So I asked Miss Perrier, who engages with them, I said, reach back out to them, let them know we'd like to probably continue with them for one more year before we go on our own, but I'd like to stick with last year's stuff. She talked to them, they said that's fine. So if we do go with Planned Parenthood, it'll be the same presentation as last year. We'll probably just do one presentation at one school, promote it to both schools really well. It'll be at Veneta. So they agreed to essentially do what they did last year.
And I don't think that there were any, other than parents who just are uncomfortable with that topic.
It went smooth last year.
Being taught, but I didn't hear any comments about inappropriate,
And the one thing I would mention, we're still, we're not really in full compliance. We're in full compliance at 5th grade. It's gonna be a new experience for us next year in the community when there's some level of this material being required to be taught at the kindergarten level, at the 1st grade level, the 2nd. So that'll be a big part when Miss Marshall comes back in, later this spring, that, the board looks at that and aligns it to what the state's telling us we have to cover. Of course, families and kids will always be able to opt out of this material if they would like. But for this year, that's the recommendation, stay with Planned Parenthood. We'll probably bring some teachers in over the summer and or spend some time that first week back in August on this topic in preparation for, because it really won't, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Marshall, this curriculum will start in September, like a day a week. It isn't gonna be, pushed all to the end of the year. There's gonna be little 5 or 10 minute lessons for 36 weeks.
Just your
versus-
general Oregon State health standards, but then you'll have 8 to 10, the human growth and sexuality. So the week or two of that, there will be opt-out letters and all of that stuff.
Are there options for kids to opt out of the health lessons?
No, because just the general health falls under Oregon State standards rules. Kids can opt out of the Aaron's Law, sexual abuse, and comprehensive sexual health. I suppose a parent can meet with a teacher and talk about like alternatives. I think it would be tricky. Yeah, and my hope is, it's January now. My hope is in April to have like a full preview health night. Because I think it would be helpful for parents to hear from ODE and our LENISD health supports and just get a really broad idea on what those standards look like, and then have the curriculum out, have, it definitely feels more emotionally attached than some of our other adoptions, and so I think just getting the teachers on board, getting the parents on board, and feeling good about what we're choosing and moving forward with, so.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So I just want to reiterate here. So the elementary level is using Great Body Shop.
Right now, we do not have a standalone health curriculum. Right now, what we've done K-5 and pretty much 6-8 is they've done standards, just implemented them through PE, science, social studies, however they can.
She likes Great Body Shop.
Okay.
Yeah, Great Body Shop's also the only state approved one. There were 3. So we could consider an independent adoption, but Great Body Shop is more like, if you guys remember, like Scholastic News or like little readers. So you get your little magazine for like a month and it might go over exercise and movement science. And then the next month it might be safe relationships, or, all the different topics. Yes, social media, things like that. And so your month focus is on one unit. The other options, which are not terrible, they're just, one, they're not comprehensive, so we would have to do something additional in purchasing them. They're a textbook, and they're just not as teacher friendly or student friendly for K-5. The middle school is looking at a textbook, and the high school as well.
Okay, so the middle school has My Future, My Choice.
For human growth and sexuality, yes.
Okay, and the high school has open source?
It's, yeah, well, it's called 3 Rs, rights,
Right.
respect, and responsibility.
Okay, got that, thank you. And but the elementary, isn't that Planned Parenthood?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just love to make a note of expressing the parent opt-out, because what I hear most often from parents is, I didn't know I could opt their kids out, and we all know parents don't really pay attention. But to make sure that we exacerbate all sources of, like, you can opt out of this, it is not.
I think Parent Square definitely makes it feel easier and better.
Yeah.
You know, 5 years ago, we were sending home the letters and like hoping Danny opened up his backpack. At least now, you're getting letters.
It's still
We
the
don't send
letters.
it in a Parent Square though, too?
No, it's still the letters, but what's nice about the letters with Planned Parenthood is they have to say yes or no. And they don't do the lesson unless we get a yes or a no and a signature.
What if no letter? No?
No letter, then they get a hold of the parents. I mean, that didn't happen last year. We didn't have anybody that didn't come back. But what's nice about having that like concrete piece of paper is you have, you know,
It's
someone.
an opt-in or
Yeah,
opt-out.
It's black or white, it's, okay, thank you.
Do you know how many opt out versus?
We had 2 at our school. I'm not sure about the unit.
Okay, 2 out of how many?
Yeah. 2 opted out. 2 out of, I wanna say like 46. Is our number last year?
All right. Any other questions? All right, this is a board action, so we'll entertain someone.
Not nearly as fun as the drama class.
Now, it'd be a downer.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to approve
Planned Parenthood as our.
As our-
elementary.
training for this term, this season, semester?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion? Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Since we had our discussion earlier, any additional discussion, questions?
I just want to say thank you so much.
All right, all in favor of having Darren?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
No.
No? You say,
I said aye.
so 4-1? All right.
Did you say?
I thought I said aye, but 4.
And then just a couple little things. Thank you, school board members. Happy School Board Appreciation Month. I hope you liked all your little things. We've had fun having them in here. And then next month we'll do our integrated plan goals update. So there'll be lots of talking about how we're doing on our goals, our mission statement, and I'll bring a little bit more summary of all the input surveys.
Thank you.
That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, moving along, superintendent report.
Superintendent's report. Ditto what Ms. Marshall said, it's January School Board Recognition Month across our nation, so thank you to all of you. Make sure you get a picture of that artwork that, I think it's on the back of the door.
Okay.
I'll reiterate, it was Jen Gent at Benita Elementary who I think drew those. It's been talked about by the students and a little bit by our teacher, but several of us got to attend the play last weekend. Ms. Marshall, what did you think of it?
It was awesome. Danny and Claire had such a great time. So thank you on behalf of them. Little kids going to the play and Claire moved up to sit in front of Mr. Carpenter, didn't make a move from there and Danny.
Yeah, she was locked in.
I locked in. The kids really enjoyed
So
it.
if you didn't get a chance to go, sounds like they'll have another production this spring, but they did a great job. We'll talk a little bit here in a minute. Scott's up next on the bond. Some money things, but just a quick update. I think we're on track. Things are going well. In regards to all the projects, lots happening. Spend time on this every day. And while there's been bumps, there hasn't been anything that's totally thrown us off. So I think we're making great progress. I know I've kept you apprised in my weekly updates, but bargaining with Free has started. We had our first meeting a week or 2 ago. Our second meeting is this Wednesday, so we're getting fully going into that. We have our next 3 meetings scheduled. Budget process, we're kind of fully into that swing. Tomorrow morning, we have an administrative meeting with all the building principals. We'll be talking about that a little bit. I'll let them know. Quanah's gonna be getting them their building budgets in about 5 weeks, beginning part of March. Those will be due the end of March. But really Quanah and I's work kind of goes from now till the end of March. We have kind of all of our inputs, and then in April, it's when it's gonna put together. So just know that we're on track there. And those are all the updates I have, unless you had a question or anything in particular. Okay.
Thank you. All right, we just going to.
Yeah, next up is Mr. Rose. I'll turn it over to him in 10 seconds. This is the document that he'll kind of be going over. What we're looking for tonight is some board action to move money from contingency into 2 different projects. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Rose.
All right, good evening. So if the board will recall, back in June of last year, we set up initial budgets prior to any design activity for each of your 4 main projects. And we also reserved a large amount in what we call bond program contingency. And based on the construction management plan that the board approved in July of last year, any budgets that move within a project, we have 50 line items in each individual project budget. Any line items that move within a project requires Gary's and Quanah's approval. Any funds that move between projects or from the bond program contingency that is unassigned to one of the projects requires board approval, and hence why we're here tonight. So bond program contingency is not meant to increase the scope. Bond program contingency is to address the likely unforeseen conditions that will occur, and that happens due to inflation, due to discovery, as engineers, architects, et cetera, are going through your buildings and discovering things. And that's why we hold back a bond program contingency. It's also, so for this particular project, it's important to note that, as Gary said, is we are on budget overall within your bond program. Your bond program is looking at $23.9 million that RNC management is making recommendations on and managing on the district's behalf. And that $23.9 million includes your bond, it includes the state's matching grant, and it also includes the bond premiums. That it excludes any bond interest. That's not being tracked within this. That's a separate fund that Quanah is managing. So the document that you saw here that was provided is to take from the bond program contingency a portion to apply to 2 specific projects. And one is Elmira High School Science, and the other is Elmira Athletics Improvements. And you can see there, so for the high school science, surprisingly, we went through and did investigation, our engineers did investigation, and determined that of all the science classrooms that don't have acid waste piping, chemistry doesn't have acid waste piping. Surprised us all. So the other ones do. We looked at a variety of things like, do we move chemistry to a different room? But that added other costs. And so really the least cost approach is to keep chemistry where it's at. We also, each of those rooms is long, is rectangular. And one of the program directives is to improve conditions, if you will, for the students at the back of the room. And part of the way we do that is we reconfigure the room such that there's a shorter distance for better audible comprehension and better visible comprehension. Is moving the students closer in, which requires the configuration of the room to swap 90 degrees. So those things do have an impact to our overall budget for science specifically. And science is broken out into 3 different sort of sub budgets, or excuse me, the restroom and classroom improvements are broken out into 3 sub budgets. One is the high school science, one is Veneta Elementary School gym and restrooms, and then the third is the Fern Ridge Middle School science and maker spaces and restrooms. So those are 3 individual projects within this overall budget. And Veneta Elementary School gym and restrooms, that's sitting right on budget. The estimate is we're real happy with that. Elmira High School Science, we're asking for a supplement of moving 100,000 over from the bond program contingency to help with the science project. And then the Fern Ridge Middle School Science restroom and maker spaces, that design will start here in the spring because that's a 26 project. These others are a 2025 project. They'll happen this summer. The other component is the high school athletics project. So we have a sizable budget for that between the athletics and the high school parking. We're bidding those out together, but there has just been a lot of inflation in that particular market, in the athletics and equipment budget, market. We've seen a lot of inflation in the grandstands, in underground utilities, in some of the paving and the fencing costs. All those unit costs are higher than the same vendors shared with us pre-bond. And a lot of that is because of a lower demand. There are less athletic projects out there. And as such, they're trying to kind of mitigate some of those losses in terms of their expected revenue each year. And we continue to look for value engineering options. This number is not the initial number that we were presented. We were presented with a higher number. And we went through and did what we call value engineering or some cost reduction exercises to look at how can we more effectively build this project. And I feel like we're really down to about as tight as we can get it, and still have a project contingency remaining. And that is, we're looking at a $1.4 million budget transfer over from bond program contingency. You'll see in your document that the high school parking is on budget. The middle school outdoor spaces are on budget. The middle school and high school mechanical projects are on budget. And the only things that we have yet to start design on are the Veneta parking lot and the middle school renovations. Both of those are scheduled for 26. And everything else is 25, though the mechanical work might be both 25 and 26, depending on lead times for equipment. So what's important to note is that 80% of your projects, 80% of your construction work is towards the end of design and has been estimated. And that's important to note. What we're asking for is combined a $1.5 million transfer from bond program contingency to cover those 2 projects, the estimated or anticipated overages. Again, once those bid out, any savings at the end of the job go back to the bond program contingency. But we're asking for approximately 52% of that fund for 80% of the construction work. So we like where we're sitting budget-wise a lot. Certainly, we'd like to not borrow from bond program contingency, but that's what it's been set aside for. Please note also is that we have almost $400,000 in those individual projects for project contingencies. And those typically we reserve for the construction period because as they start digging, they'll find things that nobody knew was there and they'll have to make adjustments. And so that's why we preserve that project contingency for individual projects until such time as we get into construction. So the request before you tonight is to move roughly 52% of the bond program contingency into those 2 projects, still preserving almost $1.4 million in bond program contingency for future work. And with that, I'll ask for questions.
I'm sure that you already said this, but I'm going to ask it my way, okay?
Sure.
As far as these costs, the only thing I'm thinking of is how much did we start with for the contingency? And now we're asking for, where's it at?
It's the total contingency right here.
Yeah, so the bond program contingency that's unassigned is roughly 2.9 million. So we're asking for 1.5 of that 2.9.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Scott mentioned it, but just to make sure everybody understands, right? If we had 5 projects across our district and they were all $1, within each one of those projects, there is a contingency of 5%, a nickel. So in case something happens, this contingency though is outside kind of over here. It's not in, you know, so even if we do have this money, there still is contingencies, as Scott described, within each of those projects in case there is overage. If you're interested or have any questions, that's the most current rendering of our athletic facility up there. Scott mentioned they first came back with this number that gave me heart palpitations. And so we went through about 8 or 9 meetings with architects and different folks to get that scaled down to something workable. Then we met with our larger high school group of 20+ people to kind of get their opinion, share where we're at, let them know we're gonna be going to the board to ask for some additional money. The other thing I guess I'd finish by saying is that 1.4 million is conservative. I think we're gonna be under that. I didn't want to come back and ask for more. I think we probably could have got it down to 1.2 or something in that vicinity, but I didn't want to have this conversation again. I'm confident, Scott, I'm confident, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm confident that with this move, we're gonna end up with a great facility come September, and we'll be able to operate within that budget.
Yep.
And any leftover money will be put back into the
Yep.
contingency.
Correct. And as a
Absolutely. Yeah, we're carrying
Scott said
we're
this-
carrying 4 project budgets right now. The athletic campus, the classroom and restroom renovations, the mechanical upgrades, and then the other site work. And each of those projects has again a 50 line item budget and a project contingency. At the end of each of those projects, any unused funds go back into the bond program contingency for potential redistribution. Say we get all the bond promises met and there's $1 million left over, then there'll be a conversation about how will those remaining funds be spent. There were other needs that were identified, and that'll go through a conversation with the board and potentially the bond oversight committee and figuring out how to distribute those. But everything has to go back to the bond program contingency when the project's done, rather than sit in that fund.
Thank you.
So what we're looking for action on tonight is the approval of moving $1.5 million from bond contingency into these 2 respective projects.
I will make a motion to move the money to the project.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussions, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 We have 5-0. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. All right, so we at 8B then?
8B, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we do have, who's presenting that?
Yeah, Tony didn't come. So this is just, our ESD 2-year service plan, local service plan. Next year will be year 1. That is the plan. Hopefully you've had a chance to look it over. If not, in a perfect world, we approve it tonight. I can let them know, but if you'd like some time, we just need to approve it. I believe it's by March 1st. Does it say within that? Anyways, I know we could do it at the February board meeting, but this is the local service plan that all the superintendents in Lane County
March 1st.
give input to Tony on at the ESD. They came up with it, kind of created a new format that's a little easier to read. And all local, all 16 districts in Lane County are voting on this now to have this be the local service plan for our ESD for the next 2 years. So definitely something I'm in support of. Not a lot has changed. So if you had any specific questions, I would try to answer them, or I'd email Tony and get the best answer.
We feel we're at a point we can vote on it. Any questions? Yeah. All right. You have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right, sorry. We'll take a motion on the Lane Education Service District 2025 to 2027. Local Service Plan Year 1.
I'll make a motion to accept Lane ESD 2025-2027 local service.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Gotcha.
Aye.
Zero. We do have some first reading of proposed policies. A couple or most of these are deleted and a couple new ones, so it's first reading, so I assume we'll take some time to go through those.
Yeah, there's nothing to vote on today. If you, on the next weeks approaching the February meeting, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
And we do have some personnel. We have one resignation and okay, we have one resignation and we need approval on that. Or no?
Yes, on the
Yeah.
teacher resignation, we need action.
Okay. Can we get motion on the resignation?
I'll make a motion for the resignation of the teacher.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
And then the non-licensed report is just informational.
Yeah.
Some of the movements in the last month, couple aides, coach. Custodian.
Alrighty. Any late items? Anyone did any community event involvement that you want to share?
Basketball.
Elementary basketball.
All right. We have some noted upcoming events that we can support or just be aware of. A lot of basketballs. Oh, goodness. All right. We will call our meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. You have a good night. Stay warm. See you too.
No, like I was yapping, but there was a slide.